You are not auditioning for a relationship with your partner. You should know that you're the right fit and then be able to actively work on, well, how do you and I work together to make this relationship exceptional? I'm excited about this episode because I think what I'm going to talk about today sort of serves the true purpose of this channel, which is to use events in pop culture to talk about or to explain psychological constructs. And today I want to talk about relationships, and to discuss that, I'm going to sort of do it through the lens of the Rachael Kirkconnell and Matt James breakup. I saw the interview on Call Her Daddy with Alex Cooper, and I think we can use that to talk about what makes a relationship healthy and what makes a relationship unhealthy. Before we get into it, please, if you like this video, hit that like button. I will love you forever. Also, if you want to be notified when new videos come out, hit the notification bell. And if you haven't already, I don't know how it's possible, but if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. Okay, let's get into it. To give you a little background, Rachael was a contestant on the 25th season of The Bachelor, the Matt James season, which, by the way, I did react to, I think, some of that season. And he chooses Rachael, but he doesn't even choose Rachael. He tells Rachael, hey, I'm not ready to make this decision, so I'm in love with you, and the music crescendos and everybody's excited. But he didn't propose to her. She won the season, but it was a very tumultuous season for her because Matt James was the first black bachelor that over the course of those 25 years that they've ever had. And while she was kind of his number one pick, about 3/4 of the way through the show, there were some pictures that came out of her when she was in her sorority in the South, participating in racially insensitive events. And Matt, as the first black bachelor, sort of said, hold on, we can't move forward. I need some time. And they separated, but they ended up getting together after the show, and they have had a very popular relationship on social media, I think for the last 4 years. And then Matt posted, kind of out of nowhere to the audience, posted a Instagram post saying, we're no longer together, kind of goodbye, Rachael. And so Rachael is devastated by this and goes on to Call Her Daddy to walk through the relationship. And here's what I would say. I was shocked at how, like in my opinion, how bad the relationship was, how unhealthy the relationship was. And I was sort of frustrated with Rachael seemed to have no idea that it was so unhealthy. And the interviewer, Alex, is doing a really good job of getting Rachael to sort of talk through her thinking, but the thinking feels deeply flawed. But by the way, very, very common. So I just want to sort of walk through Rachel's sort of what I saw there.
I felt like there was always that just not imbalance of power, but it definitely felt like he was like the star and I was just, his little like groupie or something. And it's not like anything he did. It was just,
Rachael would say because of the way the relationship was set up through The Bachelor, she had she always was in a one-down position, right? She was one of 37 contestants on The Bachelor, and she was always vying for Matt's time. And so she sort of grew up in the relationship thinking that she was less than him, and she was so fortunate to be in the relationship. And throughout the interview with Alex, you see like example after example where Rachael was putting herself in a one-down position. She didn't have a lot of confidence. The ego strength wasn't there, and she was desperately trying to prove herself to Matt. And I think that just sort of set the relationship up to be really unhealthy. So one of the things I always talk about on this channel, and I've talked about it with clients, is if you want a relationship to work long-term, you cannot be the priority. I can't go into a relationship and selfishly be thinking, I like this because it makes me feel good. In order for a relationship to work, the number one priority has to be the relationship. Above all else, the number one thing I care about is, am I participating with this person in a way that elevates our connection? Which is not to say that I need to be overly focused on the other person either. Just like you can't be selfish in a relationship, you can't be overly deferential. If I'm moving through the relationship thinking I'm just going to do whatever it takes to make that person happy, then again, the relationship isn't being elevated, that individual is. And when the individual changes, or when I change, the relationship will dissolve rapidly. So I guess the first flaw I saw in Rachel's thinking as she talks about the relationship is she was constantly in this position where she was trying to make Matt happy, whether it was setting up dates with Matt, whether it was navigating arguments with Matt, whether it was setting up doing Instagram posts with Matt, whether it was having conversation. It doesn't matter what it was. She was always thinking, what would a good girlfriend do in this situation? What would make Matt happy in this situation? And how do I navigate this so that he's really pleased?
I'm trying to just make sure that he's getting good content for our trip and stuff, because I know like it's important to him and that it's something that we'll both post about. So I'm just feeling bad, I guess, that it was a bad spot. And then
are you feeling like you're disappointing him?
Yeah, I guess.
And it creates this really negative hierarchy. And I would say it does two things. One, it creates a negative hierarchy in that Matt can essentially learn to take advantage of you, right? You've heard before that you teach people how to treat you. If you're constantly subjugating yourself to somebody else, they will eventually learn to treat you that way. Matt will believe that his views, his perspectives are more important than yours. That's also, by the way, not attractive, which I think is counterintuitive to people. We really want to be a good partner, and so we think, who cares what I want? I'm just going to care about this person, and that's going to make them like me more. But the reality is that you are essentially reducing your value. You were demonstrating that you don't really matter that much, which makes it really easy for the other person in the relationship to lose interest. They're no longer vying for your affection because they've got it no matter what. Which brings me to the conversation that Rachael had about fights with Matt. And what she said was that it was frustrating in the relationship because whenever she would get upset about something, she would bring it up to Matt, she would start crying, and Matt would sort of go, what are you doing? Why are you being so reactive? Why are you being so emotional? And by the end of the conversation, no matter what, Rachael was always apologizing for her emotional experience.
This is what's crazy is I feel like I was apologizing a lot. Even if I was the one that was mad about something, we would sit down and I'd be like, I'm annoyed about this. And then at the end of the conversation, I would be the one that would be saying sorry. And I started feeling crazy. But at the end of the relationship, he basically said that I have a hard time taking accountability and apologizing. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, I'm going crazy because I feel like I do say sorry a lot for things that I'm not even like sure what I'm saying sorry for, you know?
And you can look at that two ways. You can go, okay, well, maybe Matt is an asshole because he's not allowing her to share what she thinks and feels. And the other side of it is, well, maybe Rachael is overly sensitive, or maybe she struggles to regulate her emotions. Like, well, I don't know. It doesn't matter who's right or wrong. What matters is that at the end of the day, Rachael was not able to stand up for what she felt.
He was just so like adamant that I have a hard time like admitting I'm wrong or taking accountability. And so when your partner is telling you those things, like you want to believe them. You want to be like, okay, if this really is like a problem I have and something that you're really upset about, then of course, like I want to try to do what I can.
Right. In a relationship, you should be able to stand behind, or at least without fear, communicate what you're thinking and what you're feeling, even when it's not what you believe is rational. Even if you can't identify why you feel what you feel, you should be able to share, hey, this is how this is making me feel. Can we talk about that without fear of criticism, without fear of being wrong? And it seems like in this relationship, because again, she was so focused on making him happy, she would quickly in a discussion go, you know what, that feeling that I have, that thought that I had, whatever, is wrong, and I, of course, am sorry. Again, just creating this hierarchy in the relationship that I think was exceptionally damaging. And that dynamic continues even after they break up, right? So they're in Japan, I believe. Matt breaks up with her, and she has to immediately get on a plane. He then puts out an Instagram post saying, we've broken up, and Rachael is devastated about it. And you could argue that the way he broke up with her, the sequence of events, he wasn't very sensitive. He did not put her needs first. I think there's reason to be frustrated with how he navigated that. But Rachael is hell-bent in this interview on protecting Matt. She doesn't want people to think that he's a bad guy. She doesn't want to be overly critical. She does a lot in the way of saying, like, I think he understands. I think he's really apologizing for that. I think he recognizes what he did was wrong. She's always giving him the benefit of the doubt and always critical of herself.
I don't want people thinking that, like, he's this bad guy or that he's, like, not, I don't know, considerate of my feelings or whatever, because he is a good guy at the end of the day. But obviously he made a mistake doing that. But I think he knows that, and I think he regrets it.
And there's, again, this huge disparity between how Matt protects her, he doesn't, and how much she protects him. And I'm just harping on the point. I guess I'm saying this because there's lots of points in the relationship when Rachael could have looked, sort of pulled her head up and said, oh my God, we are not equal partners in this. And that brings me to my final point. It's very easy when you get into a relationship with someone that you are enamored with, someone that you think is super attractive and charismatic and funny and smart or whatever, and you're like, I want to be with this person. It's easy to think that this person is my path to happiness. The life I want is through that person.
Yeah, I'm like picturing these kids that are obviously like no longer a thing, which like kind of sounds crazy. Just picturing your life with someone and thinking like that is how your life's going to look. And then now it's just all taken away.
That leads us to sort of abandon the things that we actually care about, abandon the way we actually want to feel about ourselves in favor of the relationship. And it's like, I want to tell Rachael, when she finds the right guy, she will immediately go, oh my God, this is what I was missing. Thank goodness I am not in that relationship with Matt. She doesn't, at this point, does not have the experience or the exposure to a healthy relationship enough to know that what she was in was unhealthy. You know, and I've been thinking about, like, how would you advise someone in Rachael's position? Like, how does she know that it's unhealthy, right? Maybe she thinks all relationships have friction. And I would say at the core of it, you should not be in a relationship where you don't feel stable. You are not auditioning for a relationship with your partner. If you're ever in a relationship and you're going, oh my gosh, I feel like I am trying out. I feel like I am trying to convince this person that I am the right fit. It's not healthy. You should know that you're the right fit and then be able to actively work on, well, how do you and I work together to make this relationship be exceptional? Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for listening.